Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. We do projects, training, and consulting. And welcome to the one day a month where I do 2 office hours sessions. It's the third Tuesday of every month. I do one at 10 a.m. Italy time, which is what it is now. And then, of course, we do our second one at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. The lighting at my desk is a little bit weird. It is making the circles under my eyes look a little bit darker. I'm only mentioning this because someone messaged me a few weeks ago and said, "How did you get a black eye?" And I just want to make sure we all know that I don't have a black eye. I just happen to have some dark circles under my eyes, and the lighting sometimes enhances that. So here on the show, I take your questions live for up to an hour, assuming we have questions and conversations going. If not, we can end it early and say we tried. But absolutely any question you have about CX or UX or interviews, jobs, I'm happy to take these questions. And of course, this is completely free for you. So if you have a question where you just don't know who to ask, or you've asked it to a few people and you're getting different answers and you want another perspective, excuse me, I'm completely live. We're about 30 seconds delayed, so it's almost a conversation, and I welcome your questions to come in through the chat. I'm watching Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And you can also ask anonymously. Our anonymous question asking isn't totally working right now, so I'm asking everybody to use our old link right now, which I think was deltacx.link/AMA for Ask Me Anything. Let me just check if that's the one. We're probably going to have to leave video ask due to crappy UX. So there's that. Yeah, so we're going to be using deltacx.link/AMA, and you can ask there anonymously. But we've got our old friend R for Everything here. So let's take a look at what the question is. Let me copy and paste it into our list of questions, which always goes into the YouTube description later. Questions already up on the screen, and it says accessibility for native mobile apps. I'm confused where to start. What do you recommend? There's a lot of hi Jonathan. We will answer your question next. Thank you, Jonathan. So R for Everything, in answer to your question, which I'll put back up on the screen, if you are looking to learn about accessibility, there are some good companies that offer training. The training is usually not free, so do expect to invest in this, but you are investing in your knowledge and education. Let's get the question back up on the screen and hide this other one so we're not confused as to which one I'm answering. I would look at webaim.org, and of course these are not sponsored. Webaim.org, webaim.org. Some people also like a company that I'm not sure how to pronounce. I think it's dequue.com. Now, I don't love their sales practices. I somehow ended up on their mailing list because I was curious about them, and holy cats, I thought their sales tactics were uncool, so you might have to get yourself off a mailing list or something like that. But they do have a large library of accessibility training that I think is relatively decently priced. Also, some people are looking at, what's the name of that company? Is it IACP? I'm going to get this wrong. Don't Google things. I'm always afraid things will. Is it IACP? There's some company out there that does accessibility training and a well-recognized and respected certification. Let me just Google accessibility training because I'll know it when I see it. Not Udemy. Yeah, I mean, W3.org can be a good resource as well. Here it is, accessibilityassociation.org. It's an IAAP certification, not IACP. I got that wrong. So those are a few resources that you can try to learn more about accessibility. Again, they are not free, but I don't make any money from recommending them, so pick whichever one you like. I'm sure there are YouTube videos or Udemy courses or cheaper things, but I can't guarantee that those are good sources, whereas the ones that I mentioned should be good sources. For native mobile apps, you are definitely looking for people who have low vision, might use the screen zoomed in, screen readers. Anything that is a video needs to have a transcript or live captioning or live sign language translation so that people with hearing issues can access that content. And then there's a lot of other things you need to think about for memory and autism and dyslexia and things like that. So it is definitely not a quick study. There's a lot to learn and a lot to get right. So thanks are for everything. I hope that helps. If you have a follow-up question, please ask it. I did see an anonymous question come in, so let's get Jonathan's question up on the screen and start talking about that. And then I'll check for the anonymous question because this is the one-woman show and I have to hit all the switches. All right, I see your anonymous question and we'll get you on the list. You'll be next. Thanks for your patience. All right, here we go. So Jonathan over on LinkedIn asked, excuse me, hey Debbie, how do you know that you've done enough research for someone's first research? Okay, so one of the best ways to know whether or not you've done enough research is, did you meet or exceed your research goals? Remember that an important part of research is the planning of it. And we've done a lot of it on this channel. You'll see it in the micro lessons playlist. You'll see it in some of our interviews with Michelle Ronson. You'll see it in some of the Think Out Loud sessions. Planning the research is really important. This is where you set yourself up for success and your project up for success or possible failures. So if you have things planned out well, one of the things that will be in your planning document is research goals. What do we need to learn? Maybe why do we need to learn it? Maybe what will we do with this information after we learn it? But the key thing is, what do we need to learn? If we don't learn this thing, this research isn't a success. So how do we know that we've done enough research or the right research? Did we meet our goals? So if our goals would be to learn how, just to use yesterday's Think Out Loud project as an example, if our research project is to learn how Disney World fans plan their vacations to Disney World, and my plan yesterday was let's meet 64 to 90 something people. So hopefully you're going to learn from a large group. If in the middle of the research, sometimes you can tell in the middle, if you are not learning stuff that you can tell is going to set other teammates or yourself up for success, then the research is not going right. So for example, are you not learning how people plan their vacations? Are you not learning how they collaborate with other friends or family members when they're planning the vacations? Did you only focus on their time on the Disney World website and not the true end-to-end journey? Let's talk about that end-to-end journey for a moment, everybody. Remember that just focusing on the time on a website or in an ecosystem or in an app or in a physical building is a common mistake when we're trying to learn more about people's tasks and behaviors. Remember, we've got the full end-to-end journey starting with the trigger. What made people even have to do this task in the first place? How did these people even decide they wanted to plan a vacation? Maybe it helps us to know more about that. How did they decide which vacation they were going to plan? This is what I call the orbit stage. How did they decide that they're going to Disney versus taking a cruise or climbing a mountain or just going to a beachside hotel? So this is all part of that task and that end-to-end journey. And a common research mistake is, I'm just going to watch them on this website. So make sure that when you are planning your research, especially if it's early generative research, you're looking at behaviors, tasks, priorities, decision-making, collaboration. This is usually where sneaky, cool surprise things end up, and that's where the research sometimes usually shines. Like, we thought people just go to our website and do this thing, but now that we study these people, holy cats, there's this whole world of stuff that they do before they even get to their website, and how can we make their lives easier there so that they're more likely to come to our website, or they have an easier time when they get to our website, or we just make our website better because of what we learned here. So ultimately, I think that the way that we know that we've done enough research or the right research is to see how the research, either while we're doing it or a little bit later, but typically, hopefully while we're doing it, are we getting the right information? Are we getting, everyone say it with me, meaningful, actionable, helpful information? Sometimes people will say to me, well, I've done this research and I learned that 58% of people like to plan a trip with mom. And I go, now what? What's that mean? What can I do about that? How will I design differently? How will I plan different design screens or flows because mom is sometimes involved? How's mom involved? What does she do? What's her responsibilities? You know, you didn't learn enough. You just learned the top level surface of a thing, and that meant that someone, maybe you, couldn't take action. The actionable part is the important one here. How do we take action on what we've learned? If we've just learned a thing, but it doesn't seem like we can react to it or do something about it, we probably haven't learned enough or the right stuff. So I hope that helps. Let's get these off the screen. I hope that helps. And let me know if you have a follow-up question. HHHBBB, I see your question, and we'll put it on the end of the list. We did get a question before this, which came in anonymously. So let's talk about that question. And let's also check my email to see if I'm missing questions. No, not yet. All right, so we'll do the anonymous question and then the question we just got in the YouTube chat. And, sorry, one woman show, lots of copy paste. This question says, it is difficult to, Joe says, thanks for the insightful answer. Could you recommend more research to learn about, okay, so quickly for Jonathan's question, let's put that up here. Resources to learn about research. Hard to come by because so many of them are like, just do design thinking or just run a survey. These are not going to help you. In general, I recommend this YouTube channel. You know, we do have over 600 hours of video. So I would say if you go to YouTube and you search for Delta CX Research, you're going to get a mountain of stuff. You can narrow it down. Delta CX Research Planning. That'll give you a more narrowed down set of stuff. And of course, everything here is free. So I would say probably start here. And if you hear us mention a term or a technique that you're not familiar with, go out and Google that. See if you can learn more about it. Chase this stuff. You know, that's what we do as researchers. So I would say try that because there aren't really any courses that I love other than curiositytank.com. Thanks for subscribing here. Yes, thanks everybody. Please do subscribe here on the channel. We're happy to have passed 5,000 subscribers, on our way to 6,000, and please tell other people about the channel because I'm here to help. I see an anonymous question has just come in. I'll get to that after these. Curiosity Tank is a course that I like, but it is about 4,000 American dollars. So for some people, that's very fair and in their budget. And for some people, that's just out of their budget. And I recognize that. But we have Michelle, who does Curiosity Tank on the show a lot, and she's always helping out. She'll be here in about a month talking about the importance of recruiting. So just do some YouTube searches with Delta CX first and see which of our videos you can grab. All right, so back to our question. It is difficult to get a UX designer job as a migrant designer. What are international limits? What will they be looking for when they hire an immigrant? So that's a very hard question to answer because I don't know what country you're coming from and I don't know what country you're trying to go to. That's going to change a lot of things. An Indian person going to the UK is going to have a different experience than a Nigerian person going to America. People going to Canada have different experiences experiences than people going to Germany. So I would have to say I am not an expert on immigration, certainly not. And I'm certainly not an expert on visa situations. So typically there's two situations, but I'll tell you what I do know. Typically, there's two situations. One is the company expects you to get there yourself because you have a visa. You've somehow gotten a visa. You got it in a lottery, you got a work visa, you got some sort of right to work legally, and then the company is happy to hire you and you have to move yourself there. In the other situation, the company sponsors you, which means they give you the work visa. If you no longer work for them, you could have to leave the country. Your time in the country depends on this job or possibly, another job that will give you that visa. Both of these are difficult. Neither of these is easier. A lot of companies don't want to give people visas because they don't want any of that legal issue or legal responsibility for you or whatever comes with visas. Again, not my specialty. And then trying to get your own visa to go to a country to work legally, not just to be a tourist, is also very difficult. So I definitely don't have a lot of good advice here. I apologize. You're just going to have to look for whatever your options are. Maybe consider some of the countries that it might be easier for you to get to based on the country you're coming from and any relationships that country has with other countries. For example, some people find it easier to get to Canada because of relationships Canada has with other countries. Getting to the US is very hard. Getting to parts of Europe is very hard. So I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of good advice here. You're right, this is a very complicated and difficult issue, and I'm not seeing a lot of companies moving towards hiring more immigrants right now. Where they are hiring them, they are usually trying to use the visas that prove that you have education or a specialty that's hard to find in that country. For many people, that means a master's degree or higher. It is hard to take someone who doesn't have specialized higher education and say, I really needed to bring this person into the country because they're so unique and special. I have to move them here. So usually the people with masters and higher, oh, thank you for the subscription. Usually the people with masters and higher are the ones more likely to get that visa. But again, not an expert, but I can only say good luck. Let's see. We've got... Did someone just drop a meeting in my calendar? Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I have a meeting in 2 hours or 3 hours. Okay, just checking. That was weird. I'm like, what is coming in right now? All right. So I see the question that came in anonymously about job application visibility. I will answer that after HHHBBB's question. That is long to say. So let's talk about this question, which is super timely. And it says, sorry, lots of slow motion copy and paste for me. Oh, and then we'll put Rohit's question on the end of the list. Thank you, Rohit. So HHHBBB says, could you please explain your view on the role of a product owner? And it looks like HHHBBB has another question we'll put at the end of the list. So let's start with product owner question. Hey, Alexander. Yeah, you just dropped something in my calendar. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a meeting in a few hours. But that will be cool. Thank you for dropping that in. Okay, so let's start with role of the product owner. Now, I actually, I'm working on this for the book that I'm in the middle of writing. Some of you know I'm in the middle of writing a new book. It's going to be called Transforming Toward Customer Centricity. It'll be the longer book version of the workshop that I do now. The workshop is available for people to attend. You can find it at deltacx.link/TTCC for Transforming Toward Customer Centricity, training. I've got the video course version and I've got the live version, and I've got the live version priced very inexpensively for people who do not have their company paying for such things. So please do sign up. The next one is in about a month. So what's the role of the product owner? This is a mess. I think a lot of people don't disagree on what a product owner or product manager does. And ultimately, the product owner is whatever your company says it is. I can tell you what I think a product owner or product manager should do. But if your company says, nope, it does this, I lose. So ultimately, I think that the product owner, I tend to go a little bit more by the scrum.org definition of product owner, where the product owner is a little bit of a product strategist, but plays a larger role on a Scrum or Agile team, kind of coordinating some of the development efforts. But at the same time, after I hear myself say that, I say, but why does the development team or Agile team need that? Aren't we supposed to have self-managing teams? If we have a self-managing team, why do we need a product owner coordinating things for people? Then people tell me, well, the product owner is there to make sure that the engineers understand the user and customer perspective of the project and of what we're designing. And I go, yeah, but can't your UX architect or researcher or designer tell the engineering team the user or customer perspective? They're closest to that perspective. So why aren't they sharing that with the engineering team? So I have to say, I'm one of those weird, controversial people who is finding less and less reasons for us to have a product owner or a product manager. I think that they were a lot more important when we didn't have UX people and we needed someone who was going to try to herd all of the cats related to the product and its direction. But the more I look at the work that CX and UX should be doing and a self-managing engineering team should be doing, I'm not totally sure I see it. For my book, I interviewed a product management expert, someone with decades of experience, and he had another perspective. I think his perspective is interesting, but he remembers the days when a product manager was in charge for some of the pricing of a product. Now we have other teams who do this. He remembered when a product manager was a little bit responsible for some of the marketing. Now we have other teams that do this. So I think the product manager and product owner role is really in flux and in question right now. Oh, good to see Benedicta here. Product managers will have a fit if they hear this. Yeah, you know, product managers are having a lot of fits right now, so I think they really need to decide where they're going, because when I look at product management online training, almost all of it is UX. And my thought is, that's my job, not yours. You supposedly have another job. Your job is called product management. Why are you trying to do UX? And then I saw product management training that says you should learn to code and do development. And I'm thinking that's somebody else's job. We have that already. So that's why I probably tend to lean a little bit more on the scrum.org version, because it's a strategic role that works in kind of coordinating a lot of what's happening in the engineering team while herding the stakeholders. And it seemed like the scrum.org version of product owner had a lot of tasks that I don't want to do, and I don't want UX people doing, and the engineers probably don't want to do. So it's a little bit like the stuff that's left over. So yeah, so let's see. Resource has a follow-up question. So let's take a look at that, and then we'll get the other question. HHHBBB has another question, which is welcome, of course, and we'll add that to the end of the list. But since this one is a follow-up, let's throw it on the screen. This is Resource watching us live on Twitch, and the question is, Would you say a senior user experience designer could do well in a PO role? Again, it really depends on what that PO role looks like. I've seen PO roles that basically have you managing the engineering team. I think that is not going to be the best place for UX, because I think people with more engineering and development knowledge and experience should be kind of leading an engineering team or coordinating an engineering team. I think there are definitely aspects of product management that could be part of UX, because if UX were doing the work that we want to do, which would be more strategic about the product direction, we wouldn't need a product manager to tell us the product direction. I do see that as a bit of an overlap, and I do see if we have that senior or higher level UX architect or designer who happens to be good with strategic product direction, because not everybody will be, and you've got good research to work off of so that your strategic product direction isn't a bunch of guesses and assumptions. If it really is based on good customer intelligence, customer knowledge, good generative research, then I kind of don't see why UX wouldn't be able to strategize product direction and prioritize it based on what we know about the customers, but also making sure that we've checked in with the business. I don't need a special other person to translate for me what the business wants. The business can tell me, these are our goals, these are our KPIs, these are our strategies, and I can say, okay, now I have to find some way to marry what the business is hoping to see happen with what the users and customers need, and try to make the best out of this. So I think I am seeing more and more UX people, especially who are disappointed with what's going on in UX and how other people are land grabbing our work. I'm seeing more and more people moving into product management. And my reminder to product managers and product owners is, if you don't figure out what your job is and the healthy boundaries of your job, which I think should not be in engineering and should not be in UX, if you cannot figure out the healthy boundaries for product management and you start sliding into, oh, it's UX research and it's UX design and it's UX strategy, you're going to find your jobs being taken by UX professionals, because we will qualify for that job and you won't. Who qualifies better for a job looking for UX skills? The product manager who has no UX skills or education or experience, or a senior UX designer? So I think we have to be careful of the land grab here, because it won't go in the direction the product managers hope, where they'll all get to guess at UX work. No, your jobs will go to someone who can do UX work. So be careful. Resource says, thanks for the thoughtful reply. Well, thanks to you. Thanks for being on Twitch, though I do try to encourage subscribers to subscribe on YouTube, since we have an archive of over 600 videos here, and always growing, since I'm live usually 3 or 4 times a week. But if you're on Twitch and you like it there, that's cool too. Let's take a look at our next question. Hi, Debbie. Good morning. Good morning. How can you get better visibility compared to other applicants on job postings when you have a strong resume and portfolio? What criteria do we usually miss that causes us to be ignored? Great question. So we've done a couple of shows on this, so I'm going to recommend some of my archived shows. One, of course, is episode 148 that we did a few weeks ago on how to make your portfolio better. So just because you think you have a strong portfolio, maybe you do and maybe you don't. I can't see it from here, but check out episode 148. Easiest way to find it, go to YouTube and write Delta CX 148. It should come right up. We also have a really, really old episode, which off the top of my head, I want to say is episode 61, but let me go and search for what number it is so I don't tell you the wrong thing. Hold on, it was an episode Dr. Nick and I did on how to stand out. And ultimately, the short version of how to stand out is to have a great portfolio that tells me you know what you're doing. Let me see, what was episode 61? No, that was his UX elitist. That was a fun one too. Let's see. I'm talking about episode 83. Now, episode 83 was, how can a junior stand out from the ocean of juniors that are trying to get jobs right now. So if you're not a junior, this may or may not apply to you, but it was episode 83, so you can search for Delta CX 83, see if it applies to you. But ultimately, the main way to stand out is to actually know what you're doing and to make sure that your portfolio tells that story, which we really go into in episode 148. Because ultimately, I do a lot of portfolio reviews. I do free portfolio reviews, not sponsored. It's me. And let me put this up. You can go to deltacx.com/links. These are all the links related to the show. So this is how to send in these questions, how to see our event calendar, what shows are coming up, how to get a free portfolio review from me. Everyone gets one. I charge for the second and later ones. So I do lots of portfolio reviews. And in general, I feel like about 96% of the portfolios I see look like people are ready to do UX work at whatever level they're at. I'm sorry, 96 are not ready, not job ready, not likely to get the job. 4% look job ready. 4% either have previous experience and they told a good story and their portfolio showed that experience, or they're newer, they're going to be juniors, but it looks like they know what they're doing at a junior level. To me, that's the way to stand out. Know what you're doing and be able to tell me that story. I see a lot of bad portfolios, even from people who've done good work, and the portfolios are like, and then I interviewed some users, and then I learned a thing, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, how did you do all of this? If I don't understand how you did all of this, I can't tell if your technique or approach or process is a good one. Or, you know, people say, and then I did interviews and I learned this, and I go, well, can you give me examples of 3 questions you asked? Because maybe you asked terrible leading questions and you found out everybody wants an app to coordinate surfing because you asked everybody, would you like an app to coordinate surfing? And everyone said, yeah, sure. So ultimately, the way you stand out, in my opinion, is to show that you can do the work, to show that you're job ready. I get a lot of portfolios from people who came straight off the Google UX course, and for the most part, these people are not job ready. They have learned very surface things that sometimes aren't even good UX. They didn't have anybody checking their work, so they guessed at stuff. And now their portfolio, in most cases, but not all, looks like somebody with a very low level of knowledge who's guessing at stuff. That doesn't look job ready. That person's not going to stand out unless this is an apprenticeship or an internship that welcomes people who still need a lot of coaching. So I hope that helps. Let's take a look at our next question. Thanks to everybody for all the good questions today. Okay, someone says, how do you balance the business needs and the end user goals? Always hard, and I don't think there's going to be one clear answer for that. It really depends on what the business needs and the user goals are. I have seen situations where they are completely opposite. The business says, make people click this button more, but we know from researching our users that they don't want to click that button more. They want to click that as little as possible and still have a good outcome happen. How do you balance that? Nearly impossible. How do you balance where the business wants people to do something that we know the users don't want to do? What typically ends up happening there are your deceptive design patterns, what used to be called dark patterns. Deceptive or devious design, it's now called devious design. You end up with trying to trick people into do stuff because you're trying so hard to fulfill the business goal of making people click that button or do that thing, and it's something people don't want. For example, it's why we have so many pop-ups on websites now, and the pop-up asks you to do something completely opposite to why you're on the website. Nobody is on your website to join your mailing list, but the marketing team decided we have a goal of more people on the mailing list, so interrupt whatever these people are doing and see if you can get them on the mailing list. That's where business goals won. And so, because the user doesn't want to do that, and also if they've just gotten on your website for the first time, how do they know they want to be on your mailing list? You're new to them. They have no idea if you're any good or if your information is interesting. So it's totally not from the user's perspectives at all. I think that the best way to hopefully balance these things is to make sure that really great generative research was done, if we understand people and their tasks and their behaviors, or as we like to say here, people, context, and systems, then we've got some shot at even understanding where the goals overlap and where they don't. Because I think sometimes without that research, we don't totally know what user goals are. We don't know what their tasks are. We don't know what their likely behaviors are, but we sure know our business goals, and we sure know the pressure we're under to grow that revenue or make people shop more or whatever it is. Now, the goal of more money or making people shop more can be okay if we do it ethically. And if we research more about how people shop for this type of thing, or shop on competitors' websites, or shop with us, then we could say, okay, let's make it easier, better, faster for people to shop with us so that they'll hopefully do it more often. Ethical. The other stuff is where we get into unethical stuff. So I think the best way to have any chance of balancing these things is to make sure we really understand users' needs, tasks, goals, behaviors, and preferences through good generative research. And then you're going to have to stand up and fight the crappy business goals and say, why are we trying to make people do the thing that they don't want to do? Doesn't that create risk? Might that drive people away from us instead of making them do more things? Okay, just checking that I'm not missing any anonymous questions coming in. This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. We do this every Tuesday. We do it at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. It's about 10:30 in the morning Italy time. Once a month I do 2 of these to catch people in other time zones, but in general we do it at 6:30 p.m. every Tuesday, and we are doing it again today with special guest Dr. Nick Fine. Okay, so next question says, what are the key team makeup differences between B2B and B2C, if any, for design and research? For example, a project manager may be more relevant in understanding requirements and needs for client-paid work in B2B. Okay, so that's tough. That's tough because there's a lot of things here that are a little bit strange, so I want to break this into pieces. First of all, what does a project manager do? In general, a project manager has to keep a project on track, make sure the budget is there, the right people are there, the right tools are there, the time is there, make sure people are staying on time, make sure they're not blocked, help them unblock when something is blocking them, because you want to make sure the project finishes on time and on budget, if not early and cheaper. That, to me, in my opinion, are the key things a project manager does. Does a project manager have to help a team understand the requirements or a client's needs? Now it's getting a little bit strange here. Why aren't you talking to the client? Why is this coming through someone else? Is it possible for you to talk to the client? So why is it a project manager who's understanding the requirements? Also, remember that requirements often end up turning us into order takers. The client wants this. This work isn't done right unless you give them exactly this. If you have that kind of situation, you're already too late. CX or UX should have been involved earlier in this client relationship, so that if they say, yeah, we just want this, that we say, well, hold on, what do we really know about the users? What do we really know about the customers? Is that the right solution? If a client comes to you with predefined solutions, if you're just an order taker and a production designer, then that's what you're doing. But if you're trying to be a real CX or UX problem finder and problem solver, you're not going to be happy at the job that says the client wants this, just make it, whether or not it's a good idea. I've had those projects and they're messy. So what's the difference between a B2B project and a B2C project? Really depends on the project. In many cases, I've rarely worked with a project manager, especially if it's kind of an agency or consultancy thing. I tend to kind of just be a de facto project manager. I'm trying to think of things that I've done that are B2B and B2C and how they were staffed or done differently. I don't think so. I think the main difference is that B2C research participants are sometimes harder to get because they're people at companies who expect to be paid for their time, or maybe there's some ethics thing where we can't pay them for their time, so it's harder to get them. We expect them to be our research participants for free. I don't know, anybody who's here live have any thoughts on this? I am not sure that I would say there's a key makeup difference between B2B and B2C. I mean, there might be differences in how the project is done, what tasks we do or how we do them, but I'm not sure I would change who's on the team necessarily. And I'm wondering about this project manager. They sound like they're project manager / product manager / business analyst / something else. So I'm a little worried about this role, and I'm a little worried that they're just going to make you an order taker and tell you what to do, which means this kind of isn't UX. All right. Next, we had a super question come in at some point. I don't even remember where it came in, but we'll throw it on the screen. Here it is, HHHBBB's most recent question. And it says, what do you say to a stakeholder who wants to use A/B testing as the primary way to validate whether a feature or experience is worthy or not? So yeah, this is something that I'm working on for my book as well. A/B testing is used incorrectly a lot. A/B testing is supposed to be a performance measurement test. It's supposed to be, so for example, the best use of an A/B test looks like this. We've gone through user-centered design, human-centered design. We've done a CX or UX process thoroughly. We now know we have a good solution. We went from research to architecture and design. We did rounds of testing. We made it better. We now know it's a good solution to a real problem. Now we're going to get it out there, but we wonder, is it significantly better than what we've got now? The A is what our website, app, system experience is now, and the B is this new version which we've already tested is good, but we don't know how much better or not better it is than what we have. So then we would put it out there as the B, run it with a certain percentage of people. We would have a metric we're measuring or something we're looking for to know which one is better. Did people shop more often? Did they spend more money? Did they sign up for the demo more often? Did they whatever? It could be anything. Whatever is your measure of that success. Hopefully we're looking at it in a short term and longer term. I've got a Medium article related to that you can Google for. It's called, I think, Your CX and UX Metrics Are Myopic. You can read that one. That's got some helpful ideas. So the A/B testing is supposed to be, we know we've got our existing site, which may or may not be good, or system, whatever it is, and we've got this new idea, but we don't know how much better one is than the other. How can we measure this in a controlled testing environment? Now, that would be the right way to use A/B testing. So, to go back to the question, can A/B testing be used to tell you, wrong button, if something is worthy or not? It could, but only if you followed what I've just said. It's more like what I tend to see, which is, hey, the product manager has an idea to build this feature. Hey, UX, make us some screens. Well, just whatever. Make it fast. This is an experiment. Just rush out some screens. I'll give you a day or two. Not good, but this is what I see commonly. UX rushes out some screens. They're not thoroughly tested or vetted or improved upon. They're just the initial idea somebody had. Engineering builds it. That can take weeks or months. So now you start to look at all of the risk that you've created, because you now have the product manager's work, you have the UX's work, you have the engineering's work, you have weeks or months of work. You've now put this out where some of the public can see it, which means it can be screenshot. People could write articles about it. People could laugh at you. People could sell their stock. So you put it out there as an A/B test and you go, hey, which one of these is better? And then people think that A/B testing is a way to do design, because you just keep A/B testing stuff, and whatever wins, you go with that. And you do another one and you go with that. And they don't really think about, not only is that not the correct direction to go with A/B testing, not the correct usage of the method, but it also means that the public is watching a lot of your sausage being made. They're watching you cycle through all of these guesses. And every time they see one of these guesses, they have to relearn the system or figure it out. Part of the reason we're not using Video Ask possibly anymore for our live questions is because in the last 2 weeks since I was last here, because I was on a trip or whatever, they changed their system, and now I can't get to the information that you actually enter into the Video Ask system when you ask me the question. Did someone run that as an experiment did that go through UCD? Did a UX team vet that and go, wow, that really solved problems, that really made it better? Yeah, don't give people access to the information people put in. That's better. You know, that shouldn't even have made it to A/B testing. That should have died in UX and said, hey, wait a minute, this isn't going to be right for a certain percentage of our users. It'll be right for this group. It'll be wrong for this group. How do we design something where people have an option of how to see this information? Do you need to see it this way, or do you need to see it that way? Now we've designed something that solves more people's more problems. But I think so I think that the problem is, and you're welcome to show the stakeholder this video. You know, this will be archived on YouTube. You can find the point in the video where we talked about this question. The stakeholder is welcome to contact me with follow-up questions. I'm happy to talk to people. But ultimately, the A/B testing is designed to say how much better something works. It's a measure of performance. It doesn't say if an idea is good or not. It doesn't say what's going wrong with the idea. You could have A not be the right idea. You could have B do better, but it's still not the right thing. But then we get the false confidence of, well, it did better, so it must be good or right or perfect or done. These are false. So without knowing more about your situation, I hope I'm addressing some of the things that are going on in your world. Please do ask a follow-up question if you'd like. I'm here another 15 minutes. Happy to take questions. Let's see if I'm missing any other questions coming in. Checking my email for them. Nope. I'm caught up there. All right. I think I'm caught up on all the questions. Did I miss anybody's question? Sometimes I do miss them because they come by quickly and I'm copying and pasting and I miss something. But let me know if you have a question or a follow-up question, or if I missed your question. Meanwhile, just a reminder to people, please do subscribe here. Also check out some really cool things we have coming up. We have the Delta CX Concentric Conference, which you can find at deltacx.com/concentric, which is CONCENTRIC. It's a week of live workshops teaching you stuff that very few people are teaching out there. I really tried to make a highly educational event this time and very affordable. So please do check it out and sign up and tell more people about it. We're looking to make sure we get some good turnout there. Let's see. So I'm checking if I missed any questions. I'm not seeing any missed questions, so let me know. If there aren't any more questions, I'm happy to wind down our session for today. And just remember, I'll be back in a bunch of hours. HHHBBB says the key stakeholder thinks by obfuscating key information we could increase conversion rate, proven by an A/B test. Right. So you're asking the right question. And again, I welcome the stakeholder to watch this video. We do see this, and this would technically be called a devious design. This is potentially or definitely unethical, depending upon what it is. If we are removing information, hiding information, tricking people into things, forcing people into things, sure, you can see people do that thing because you've tricked or forced them into it, but that doesn't mean that they've had a good experience. And if you do have competition, people might eventually say, oh, hey, wait a minute, I don't like the experience I had with this company. I thought I could do this thing, and then later on it turned out that they kind of tricked me somewhere along the way. I'm not coming back. So that's where you also have to look at longer term metrics. Did we have some early wins because we made people do a thing and the A/B testing showed that they did the thing? But do we have longer term carnage and problems? And that's where my article comes in handy. I highly recommend it for you and your stakeholder. For example, did we convince people to do, can you tell me what industry you're in? That might help me make this a little bit more specific and help you out. Is this e-commerce? Is this a SaaS system? You know, you don't have to tell me exactly, but generally. So, I had a client who kind of went against my advice and decided that instead of making one of their web pages better, they would just remove most of the options from the page. They would remove information, they would remove buttons, they would remove choices, and they would narrow it down to this key one thing that you could do on the page because they wanted to prove that people would get to the next step of the process. Well, as you can imagine, because they removed other things that thank you, Alexander. Because they removed other things that you can do, people did get to the next step of the process. Yes, they did. You're right. They got to the next step of the process. But was it a good process? Was it an easier process? Were these people more likely to buy again, spend more money? Were they happy with the experience? Would they give it 5 stars out of 5? Were they leaving bad ratings online? So again, just because you make somebody do something doesn't mean you've kept that customer or created customer satisfaction, especially if there is kind of a long arc disaster coming later on. Like I once saw a company A/B test their way to a web page design that they said converted more people, but they had more customer support complaints. They had more people who wanted to make returns on the product that they bought because they hadn't understood what they were buying, because the winning page hid the item description, thinking that was a cleaner page. So again, the short-term metrics might look good, but let's look at the longer term and where some of this stuff could end up hurting. Online retail, hiding fees. Yeah, that's absolutely a devious design. It is potentially unethical. And it can definitely cause a lot of surprise in people. So they might convert, but they might be surprised or disappointed later at what they paid. They might not come back to you again. They might say, I bought from these people and it was okay, but I really don't like the way I was surprised at the end with some of these fees. I think they really should have been clearer about that. I was kind of confused. Maybe you find your customer support tickets go up. You should be able, most customer support tickets track things by words people said or the part of the product or experience. So if you have a good customer support system and team, you should be able to go in and see how many people have called up either complaining about fees, saying they felt surprised by fees, asking for a partial refund because what were these weird fees I got. I think it would be really easy to go work with customer support and see how often people are unhappy about fees. Do you have a voice of the customer program where someone is checking app ratings or tweets or other things for people complaining about your pricing? They might use words like pricing, charges, fees. Not everyone's going to, you say fees internally, maybe they said pricing, prices, charges, I was charged. You have to make sure you have a system that can use a lot of variations of the words and find out what people are saying. You can try to read some of these yourself and capture the quotes. You can look for sentiment analysis tools. But I think that ultimately this is the type of thing that gives us short-term wins and longer-term losses, because ultimately we find that more and more people do care about companies being ethical, honest, transparent, upfront, and people don't like to feel fooled or tricked. They don't like for that information to be hidden. Depending upon what your type of business is, if you're using Google Shopping, you have rules as to what you need to show on the page because of the price you told Google Shopping. So ultimately, hiding fees is a game that is designed for people to lose. And I think once we're playing games with people, it's only a matter of time before this bites us in the ass. So we can say, yeah, we got more conversions. Okay, track that long-term lifetime value of that customer. Did they come back? If you sent them an NPS or satisfaction survey, did they give you a high score? I mean, I don't love NPS, but sometimes it's fun to try to tie some sort of satisfaction scoring to the people who went through that B variant. You know, yeah, you hid the fees on them and maybe they were surprised or confused later. Would they recommend you to a friend? What was the NPS score they gave you? What was the NPS score of the people who came through the B variant versus the people who came through the A variant? Again, I don't love NPS, but this is a great way to show a little bit of where there's smoke, there's fire type of thing. But I hope that helps. And again, please do show this with your stakeholder. I'm not mad at your stakeholder. It's a really common thing to want to say, hey, look, how do we just push people to do this? We need more conversions. We need blah, blah, blah. What can we do here to just make that happen? I see it all the time. It's common, but it's not good. It's not right. And if the stakeholder were on a website and the website did that to them, the stakeholder wouldn't like it. So even if we're selfish and say, hey, would I like it if this were done to me? No, you wouldn't. So then why are we doing it to other people? If it were done to you, would you think it were fair, right, ethical? Would it be a company that had a positive place in your mind? This is where we talk about brand experience. I bought something online last night and I had credits with the company. So I had like a coupon code where I could use my credits because I had some money from before the pandemic and they extended the life of the credit. And the checkout was like, okay, you owe this amount of money, put in your coupon code. Okay, now you owe this. And it subtracted my credits and everything went well. And it said, okay, you've bought it. Here's your purchase number. And then immediately on the screen, it said, you bought it. Here's your purchase number, but we can't accept your coupon codes. And I was like, how did you let me check out if you're not going to accept my coupon codes? How did that just happen? How did I not get blocked from checking out? Obviously, someone said, don't block people from converting. Get them to convert. Do whatever you have to do to make this sale. Now I had to call customer support and ask them why I couldn't use my coupon codes. And the first two customer support people picked up the phone and hung up. So that was 10 minutes of waiting twice that led to people hanging up on me. The third customer support person listened to my problem, said, ooh, this one's a tough one. Let me get a supervisor to help me out. Put me on hold for 25 minutes and then hung up on me. And then the fourth person I talked to figured out the problem and solved my problem. What's my opinion of this company? How excited am I to buy on their site again? Am I going to change my loyalties and buy from another company next time? You know, is this company really going to win by doing something like this? They've got competitors, dozens of them. I don't have to buy from them again. Do I want to? After that experience, was it worth it? So you have to look at the longer arc of this and things like customer loyalty and customer satisfaction. When we don't care about how people feel or if they're going to come back or if they're going to tell a friend or if they're going to go on YouTube and tell 5,300 people, check out this crappy experience I had and name the company. When we don't care about these things, then the A/B test wins. When we care about these other things, we have to look at a lot more. All right. Joe's got another question. Good luck, HHHBBB, with your long name. Let's put the last question up on the screen and then we'll wind it up for today. If you have more questions, I'll be back in some hours doing this again because it's that one day a month where I do a double. In a startup of two people, one is the designer. The other is the founder who already has the idea of assumption what they want to build. What's the boundary for the founder in terms of design input? Super question, very common, and that's up to the individual founder. I have found few founders are looking for input and want their designs or ideas questioned or challenged. Most founders just want to, run with their idea. Whether it's good or not, they assume they'll find out later if it's good or not. But of course, that's after a lot of costly and risky design, engineering, public reputation. You know, the problem is they've read books from 2011 on how cool Silicon Valley startups need to just rush things out and find out later if people like them. I've had people from startups come to these office hours and say, all right, our startup just built something, but we don't know who it's for or how they're going to use it or why. And I go, that's not product market fit. So I think the most important words you can say to big companies and small companies and startups is product market fit. Or as I like to say in my books, PSE market fit, because PSE is your products, services, and experiences. It's everything your company offers. Your customer support is a service. It's not a product. It's not a website. It's not an object. It's all of these things. It's an experience too. So think about PSE market fit. Your startup person might think they have a good idea because of a need that they have or something they Googled or a competitor they want to try to chase. But is there really product market fit? Are you going to bring something to the market that doesn't exist, that solves problems that aren't being solved, that really has a hungry target audience? And research tells us that. Can you find out later by releasing it and figuring out if anyone cares? That's another way to do it, but that is going to be slower, longer, riskier, and more expensive. So I think if you have a startup founder who doesn't want your input, then remember you are a pair of hands. You are a production designer and you are an order taker. You're probably not really going to get to use much or any of UX process or UX approach because you just have to make the screens that are in this person's head. Or you have to make the screens that match their idea, and probably with little room for creativity, you have to decide whether or not you want that job. And you also have to decide if this is kind of a first job or something you thought would be practice or something to put in your portfolio. Will this look good in your portfolio? If I see it, will I be impressed that you made the screens that were in somebody else's head? Will that look like good UX work that helps you get your next job? These are the things I worry about when people take these startup jobs or these free jobs or these low-paid jobs. You know, who's going to check your work, and are you even doing UX? So I think you might be in a not great spot. All right, I should run because evidently things are popping up in my calendar. But again, thanks to everybody who dropped by. Remember, we'll be here this evening, doing this again, 6:30 p.m. Italy time. And what else can I tell you? Please do subscribe and tell more people about the Delta CX YouTube channel. We are shadow banned on YouTube, so it really helps when you tell people about it so they can subscribe and join in and get some advice and education for free. Thank you, Joe. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, be careful of that job. So I'm going to play us out of here, but I'll see everybody later for our usual 6:30 p.m. show. Have a super day or night wherever you are, and I'll catch everybody later. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are